My name is Jim, and the name of this show is 15 Minutes. 15 Minutes is an interview show where we invite local, non-celebrity guests to come on and talk about what's important to them for 15 minutes. Guests can't use the show to sell a product or promote a business, but every other subject is pretty much fair game. If you feel like you'd like to be a guest on the show after this next segment, there'll be contact information to do that. But for now, let's see who'll be our guest for the next 15 minutes. Our guest this evening is Charlie Cook from Sturbridge. Welcome to the show, Charlie.
Thank you very much, Jim.
The topic that Charlie's chosen is reducing personal debt. And I'd like to ask you first, what interests you about talking to people about reducing personal debt and what some of your personal experiences?
All right. Well, I think it's important to not have debt. I'm not a rich guy. I don't make a lot of money. But I have been listening to a financial advisor for a few years. And one of the things he often tells people is that the secret to wealth is your income. And you can't build any wealth if your income is paying off your credit card or paying your car and you have too big of a mortgage.
Sure.
So that makes things really, really difficult. The gentleman who wrote the book, his name is Dave Ramsey. He's a financial guru. He's out of Nashville. He's been around for a long time. But about 20 years ago, I read one of his books. A friend of mine actually worked with him. And I bought his book from her for a whopping $5. And I always read it. I thought it was great.
So you're saving money already.
Right. I thought it was a really good book. I thought it was interesting that people actually did not have credit card debt, because I've had credit card debt since I was in college, which is about 100 years. So it's been quite a while. When I got the book, I read it. I didn't think it could ever be me or anyone from my family.
Sure.
So I carried the book with me everywhere I went, as far as moving around, and I've had the book for a long time. I eventually settled down, got married, had kids, bought a house, got a new job, bought a bigger house.
Yep.
And I found myself in a lot of debt. Like, we had a big house, we had 2 cars, a 2-car garage, the whole deal. So eventually we just racked up one credit card debt, and we did the credit card shuffle. It's like the shell game, like the 3-card Monte,
Sure.
where we had the MasterCard here, we had the Visa here, and we had the American Express over here. So we would take this amount of money, and we would balance transfer it to a new company, and then we would balance transfer that one to another one, every couple of years.
Like a lot of families do.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And we were always doing this. We were doing this forever and ever and ever, and it just got really tiring. And I got a bump in my pay. I got a promotion and a raise one year, and I've been working as a teacher for a long time. So I eventually got this promotion, and it was great. It was a good amount of money, and we were still in the same place that we were. We were still chasing after ourselves, like a dog, chasing our tail. So what ended up happening is my marriage ended up falling apart, and that was obviously very devastating. We had a big house, we had a mortgage, we had a ton of credit card debt, as I said. We had around $30,000 in credit card debt.
Wow.
Pretty hefty.
Yes.
The part of the divorce decree was that we had to pay off the marital debt. So I started listening to Dave Ramsey's podcasts, and that led me to saying this whole debt-free thing's pretty cool. And he has people call in all the time, and they shout, "I'm debt-free!" And it's inspirational, it's motivational to hear.
It's gotta be a good feeling.
It is. Like, literally for the last 3 years, I've been, every time I hear one, I stop listening, and I give myself a good 15 or 20 minutes of me talking and giving my story about how I got to be debt-free and everything that I had to do.
Great.
So what ended up happening is when we got divorced, when I got divorced, we still had this debt, and after the divorce was done, we paid the debt off. All that I had for debt was about $11,000 or $12,000 in a car debt, and I had a couple $1,000s of my son's orthodontist.
Yep.
So things were going along pretty well. I was, paying the bills for everything, and then all of a sudden, something happened at my work, and my boss says, "Hey, we're gonna cut your pay just a little bit." I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get out of debt. I'm never going to make ends meet. I'm never going to, whatever.
So this is
never
when
going to
you
get ahead.
Still at the $12,000 level?
Yeah, it was just under 12 grand.
Okay.
Just all I had left was the car and a little bit of ortho.
And you got a cut and pay.
Yes, exactly. So I had to go back and revisit the whole child support stuff, which
Sure.
was not necessarily fun, but needed to be done. And the radio man likes to say, you know, either you're making too much money to be this broke,
Yeah.
which was what I was at first.
Sure.
And then eventually he says you don't have a budgeting problem, you have an income problem. So my income problem dropped drastically. Like my pay was cut almost in half.
Wow.
So I said, I don't know how I'm going to survive this. I need to do something else. So I had to figure out what I could do. And I have a side passion, a little side hustle, a little side thing that I like to do that doesn't have anything to do with my main job.
All right.
And I said, I need to start doing this a little bit more. So I had a friend of mine called me up, and we were out for coffee, and she says, you know, you should really try doing this more often and take it seriously and turn it into a second job or an income. So I thought about that for a while, and I said, you know what, I think I could do that. It's not horrible.
Sure.
So eventually I started, you know, I got a little Facebook page going, and I got a website going for myself, and
Great.
trying to let more people know that I did this, and taught more classes, and so on and so forth. And it just kind of picked up from that. In the whole process of being divorced, I have my kids half the week, so I have 2 nights a week where I had nothing to do. So one of the things I started to do was this same person convinced me to join Toastmasters and go learn how to speak. So I started doing that, and I started hanging out with some of the people that were in Toastmasters. And one of the men in Toastmasters, I've kind of taken him on as my mentor. He knows this. Yeah, I haven't told him, but he knows this.
All right.
So he does all kinds of cool stuff. You learn to break an arrow on your neck, and you walk on fire, and all kinds of cool things. So
Wow.
I did all that stuff with him to get to the point where I'd say, you know what, I can handle this. I can make a side business and be successful with this. So I started to learn how to set goals. And I set goals to say, well, I want to make this much money in my part-time job, and I make this much money at my day job. And with both of those together, I can be okay.
Yeah, I was wondering, did you make an actual plan, like write out a plan at some point to get debt-free? Or
I didn't. I just I chipped away at it and
Sure.
said, all right, this one's done. Okay, and I put a little bit more money towards the debt, and I finally decided that, you know what, I'm done. I looked at my bank account. I had 4 or 5 car payments left. I looked at my bank account. I said, all right, I can pull this off, and I can still have something to eat. So I wrote the check. I sent it in, and I'm done, debt-free. My car actually drives a lot better without a payment book attached to it, which is nice.
Good. And so how long did that whole process take from the $12,000 mark to
It took a few
relatively
years.
debt-free?
It took a few years because I had all this, you know, the setbacks with my job.
Sure.
Which obviously was a drag and not something great to experience. But I didn't write, for a long time, I didn't write a budget down every month and say, this is how much money I have coming in, and this is how much money I have going out, and this is money I can use to pay off my car to get ahead. It just took time. Like
Sure.
Chipping away, chipping away, chipping away.
Is there a point where you feel like you're done with addressing the debt that you have? I mean, if you're totally debt-free, I guess that's the point. But
Yes.
is there a point where you keep working on it, or?
With the income stuff, yes. Like I've no debt. I am all cash. If I don't, like when I go grocery shopping, I look at the cash I have. I said, okay, this is how much money we have. That's it. And then I try to tally everything up in my head as I'm grocery shopping. I don't have an app to scan all my stuff and figure out what everything's going to be.
Sure.
As far as cost is. But I'm on a cash diet. Like if I don't have cash for it, I don't do it. I'm done. That's it. That's it.
And what were some of the hardest adjustments as you were going through all that pay down? Like what were some of the hardest things to get used to, buying macaroni and cheese, or whatever it might, whatever it might have been?
Tuna all the time?
Yeah, whatever it might have been.
The hardest thing is, the hardest thing for me was to do things with my kids or to not do things with my kids.
Right.
When they said, hey, we want to do this, and I'm like, can we do something else? Can we find another thing to do? Can we not go to the movies every weekend? Can we not eat out all the time?
Sure.
Can we not do that stuff so that we can, get out of debt and not have that anymore? I think it's really important to teach your kids this sort of stuff. I've had my son come help me with my side thing, and I pay him, and he thinks it's great.
Yeah.
And I've tried to tell him, if you start to work on your own, you're going to make more money than you make flipping burgers. So I'm trying to instill that in the kids. My daughter likes to do dishes and figure out how much she's going to get paid for that. I tell her it's a roof,
Sure.
a roof and a meal.
Sure.
But anyway, I think it's important to teach the kids. Super important for that.
So your kids are involved. And
I
they
did. I
understand the
shared.
concept?
I shared all of this stuff with my kids. I bought a little kit for them that the guy has. and I try to teach it to the kids and say, listen, here's money you have for this. How much money, if you need to save some money for this, if you want to buy something. My son wants to go to a concert in a month or so.
Yep.
All right, how much is it going to cost to go to the concert? How, you're gonna, if you want to buy a concert shirt, how much, it's going to cost you $30 or $35. You gotta earn some money before that.
Sure.
If you want to. If my son likes to go to the movies once in a while by himself, he likes to walk down to the local Cumberland Farms to get to get a slushie or something. So he does that with his own money, which is cool. And I say, how much are you going to have? How much do you have? How much are you going to spend? How much are you going to bring back? So
the kind of debt you're talking about is principally credit card debt, is that right?
Yeah, I've no credit card debt. I had to write 2 checks to Bank of America after the divorce was done. And on the memo for one of them, I put "You stink, BOA," and I put something else that wasn't really nice to Bank of America either. And I haven't stepped into Bank of America since then, which is a great feeling.
Sure.
It's fun to talk. It's fun to hear. It's fun to learn about how money works and how people handle money, and have an idea that's different and not normal.
Right.
And then eventually, when you hear your friends say, well, we've got to do this, and we can't afford this, but we're going to charge it, and you're like, oh my gosh, man, that's a little crazy.
Well, that was my other question is, do you have friends or folks that you would make recommendations to? You must see, now that you've done all this work, you must see bad practices. You must see people who rely too heavily on their credit card. And
oh, sure.
Do you ever speak up with your friends or family? And
not so much. My family's never been good with money, so trying to talk with them about money is not beneficial to anyone.
Right.
Talking to some friends, you try to talk to them a little bit. It's like I said, it's kind of weird to not have any credit card debt, and to not have a car payment, and to. I ran out of cash, so I had to use my debit card. I'm like, oh, what's my PIN number? Like, it's been a long time since I've had to use this.
Sure.
Because you have a tendency to spend more money if you're not using cash. And when you got to plop down Benjamin Franklin's, that hurts, man. When he waves goodbye, you know that he's not coming back.
Right.
Yep. Swiping a credit card, swiping the debit card's a little bit easier. But I'm on the all-cash diet. I've tried to convince a couple friends. I had one friend, I actually sent him one of Dave Ramsey's books.
Great.
And I said, this is the way to go. This is great stuff. I saw him 10 months later, and I said, hey, did you read that book? He's like, no, I know all that stuff. All right. So 10 months later, he brought me, I said, we were getting together. I said, hey, listen, if you're not going to read the book, I'll take it back. I got somebody else I want to give it to. So he brought it back to me. It was in the box I sent it to him, wasn't even opened. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So people don't think that they can pay off their car and not have credit card debt, and not rack up all this debt that they have.
Well, sometimes you hear people say you need a credit card to do things like book a hotel room, book an airplane ticket, things like that. Have you ever run up against that?
I haven't. My debit card's still got the MasterCard logo on it, and it's still got 16 digits and the 3-digit code on the back. So I haven't had any problems, booking flights or car rentals or purchasing things online.
Excellent.
Haven't had any problems at all with that.
Very good. So when you look back over the marriage and after the marriage and all the work you did on reducing your debt or eliminating your debt, what would you say, the most important attribute was? In other words, the thing to keep focused on the most?
I think the thing to keep focused on is the feeling that you're going to get when you don't know anyone anything, like nothing. I have some friends that want me to do favors for them. I'm like, oh, I'm going to owe my friend something. I don't know if I want that. But no, I'm just kidding on that.
Yep.
It's a great feeling to not have to write a car payment check every month and not have to send several $100s to a credit card company.
So do you foresee yourself using a credit card at any time in the future? Like, do you see
I don't even
college
have one.
coming, things like that, or
not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. I don't have a credit card. I did cut my credit cards up. They're gone. Done. As far as getting my kids through college, I'm not sure how we're going to work that out. I would like to think that they could work their way through. I mean, I'm sure you did too. I worked in college.
Sure.
I took loans and worked, and I remember when I finally paid off my college loan. That was a big deal to have that done and over with. That was a nice relief. But I think after 6 months of not having any debt, I'm not going to have a credit score. And that's kind of a weird thing to tell people.
Right. That's another thing. Does that impact your credit score? And has that ever been an issue?
It hasn't been an issue. I did look at my credit score a couple years ago. A few years before that, I did have someone steal my identity. Wow. So I actually had to go down to Texas to fight this at a court. I had that taken off when I looked at my credit bureau, I had that taken off and had it removed because it was false. And I haven't had any credit cards, haven't worried about it. If I don't have the cash, we're going without.
And this is, I suppose, a value you're instilling in your children, like in other words, to be wary of credit cards and to use them very carefully.
Exactly. If you don't have the cash for it, you can't pay for it, or you can't buy it. You gotta wait, you gotta save, you gotta put some money together, find another way to get some money.
Sure.
New way to make a job.
Very good.
It's good stuff.
So we're almost at the end of the 15 minutes. Any other recommendations or lessons that you learned along the way that you think would be important for people to hear about becoming debt-free?
Sure. I think if there's something that you're really interested in doing, whether it's being debt-free or starting a business or learning how to dance or starting a TV show interview, you just need to get up and do it and get started and make a plan. And even if it's not a perfect plan, that you can still get up and move forward and have something happen little by little. You want to fall forward with something. You don't want to fall backward, and you can achieve whatever goal it is, whether it's becoming debt-free or saving a certain amount of money or looking into a side career or a side job or a side hustle or trying something new and different. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, you did a lot of hard work along the way, and that must be a great feeling. I don't know the feeling, so I wouldn't know, but it sounds like a great journey and a lot of lessons learned along the way.
It's been great. Really a lot to learn.
And you have a lot to pass on to people too, just based on your experiences. So it's great. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished.
Thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for being on the show. You're my first guest, as I told you. I hope there's many more to follow, but thank you for being the first and coming in and talking about real practical ways to get debt-free.
I appreciate it, Jim.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.